Welcome to module number 10. In this module, we will continue our journey on understanding learning outcome 4, which is the PRINCE2 practices and how they are applied throughout the project. So the focus of this module is going to be the practice of business case. So what are we going to cover in this module? We shall start off with understanding the purpose of the business case practice. And then we'll move on to understand the key relationships between the business case practice and the 7 principles. And then we would examine the purpose of the key management products required to support the business case practice. And then we would look into the key concepts related to the business case practice. We would then examine the business case life cycle, aligning products to business objectives and tolerances, establishing business justification. And finally, we shall end with the PRINCE2 technique for the business case practice. Beginning with the purpose, the key message. The purpose of the business case practice is to establish mechanisms to judge whether the project is and remains desirable, viable, and achievable. These are the 3 important questions of justification. Desirability is a question of the executive, viability is the question of the users, and achievability is a question of the suppliers. Now, these are 3 important questions that needs to be addressed as a means to support decision making in its continual investment. Now, let's kind of briefly examine key relationships between the business case practice and the principles. If you remember the 7 principles, the 7 principles are achieved by this particular practice, and it kind of results in certain outcomes. Let's kind of examine each of these components in a detailed fashion. Now, when it comes to ensured business justification or ensuring continued business justification, this is achieved by creating and maintaining a business case for the project to assess whether it is and remains desirable, viable, and achievable. And what does this component result in? It results in confidence that the investment is really worthwhile. The second principle, learn from experience, is achieved using lessons to inform business justification, especially when we estimate the costs of certain work packages, or when we try to identify the risks pertaining to justification. We might want to use lessons learned from past projects. And what does this result in? It results in confidence that the business case is developed from previous experiences. Moving on to the third principle, define role and responsibilities and relationships. Now, this is achieved by clarifying the responsibilities for developing and maintaining the business case and benefits management throughout the project. For example, PRINCE2 does recommend that the responsibility of the business case lies with the executive. So who develops it, who maintains it, who verifies, and who confirms is an important aspect of achievement through this particular principle. And what does that result in? It results in clear understanding of expectations for business case and benefits management. Moving on to the fourth principle, management by stages. This is achieved by ensuring decisions made at stage boundaries are checked for business justification. Now, as we go through the life cycle of a project, at the end of every stage, we need to constantly check whether the 3 aspects of justification, desirability, achievability, and viability, are still there. So it's not only justification at the start, but justification throughout the life cycle of the project. So what does this thing result in? It results in confidence that the investment remains justified through the project. And the next principle is management by exceptions. Now, this is achieved by measuring the impact of issues and risks to the business case and escalating when these are forecast to exceed tolerances. What does this result in? A clear understanding of potential impacts on the business case to foster effective business decision making. The next principle is focus on products And this is achieved by ensuring that the products produced can lead to the required outcomes and benefits, thus resulting in project benefits that are achievable. And the final principle is tailored to suit the project, and this is achieved by ensuring that the formality and the level of control for business case development, approval, and review are appropriate for the type, size, and complexity of the project. Let me just give you an example. In countries like New Zealand and UK, they use a better business case model to develop business cases. If the investment is too big and the project is too complex, they use a 3-iteration business case development. But if it's a small investment and with lesser complexity, they kind of use a single stage justification kind of mechanism. So that's just an example of tailoring. We tailor the methodology, the formality, and the level of control of developing the business case depending upon various other factors. What does this result in? Governance of the business case that is fit for purpose. Moving on, let's kind of look into the key management products that are relevant to the business case theme and what is the purpose of these documents. Now, one of the key documents is the project brief document. The purpose of the brief document is to provide a full and firm foundation for the initiation of the project. The purpose of the business case is to document the business justification for undertaking a project based on the estimated costs against the expected benefits to be gained and offset by any associated risks. It should outline how and when the expected benefits can be measured. So if you have noticed in this particular bullet point, there are 3 elements that we balance. One is the cost, the other one is the benefits, and the third element is the risks. So the purpose of a business case document is to kind of balance these 3 elements, and ideally the benefits should outweigh the cost and the risks. So we looked into the purpose of the brief document, we looked into the purpose of the business case document, and the third relevant document is the benefits management approach document. So the purpose of benefits management approach is to define the benefits management actions and benefits reviews that will be established to ensure that the project outcomes are achieved and to confirm that the project's benefits are realized. Now, oftentimes, when we think about benefits, we may not accrue all the benefits during the life of a project or at the end of the project. There could be benefits that could be accrued 6 months after the completion of the project or 12 months after the completion of the project. So we got to make sure that we define the management actions and the reviews that will establish to ensure that the outcomes are achieved and to confirm that the benefits are realized. And the last document is a sustainability management approach. The purpose of this document is to define the actions, reviews, and controls that will be established to ensure that sustainability performance targets for the project are achieved.